I am the messenger of Allah. And he says back to the Prophet ﷺ, yes, I testify that you are the messenger of Allah to the Gentiles. And then he will turn back to the Prophet ﷺ and say, do you testify that I am the messenger of Allah? And the Prophet ﷺ will say, I bear witness in Allah and His messengers. And he will test him, because even from that age he was known to be able to read the minds of people. And he will ask him, what am I thinking? What's in my mind? And the Prophet ﷺ will think of ad-dukhan, al-sayyad, al-sa'id. He will say, ad-dukh, ad-dukh, ad-dukh. He's trying to get it out, but he won't be able to complete it. The Prophet ﷺ will say, enough. You cannot go beyond your station. And he will turn to leave him. And Umar radiallahu anhu said to the Prophet ﷺ, can I cut off his head? Can I finish him off right now? The Prophet ﷺ said to him, no. If he is actually the Dajjal, you will not be able to kill him. And if he is not, you will have gained nothing. So from that, the majority understood that he wasn't the Dajjal. But still the rumor circulated that he was Dajjal. As he grew up, he became a very proficient fortune teller. People were coming to him and he was giving them information about the unseen, etc. People were, attached and attracted to him. So the rumor that he was Dajjal became stronger and stronger among some of the people. Eventually he accepted Islam. But even in spite of that, people still had this rumor. And there was an occasion which was narrated in Sahih Muslim by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. He said, they went out for Hajj. And then they camped outside of Mina, getting ready for the Hajj. And he said, Ibn al-Sa'id was with us. And we all felt uncomfortable. And after we camped, everybody left the camp. And it was only me and Ibn al-Sa'id there. And he said, I became very nervous because of what people were saying about this man. Not only that, but Ibn Sa'id picked up his belongings and brought it and put it next to Abu Sa'id. And Abu Sa'id said to him, hey, it's real hot. There's a tree over there. Maybe you better put your belongings over there under the shade of the tree. Get him away from him, right? So Ibn Sa'id took his stuff and put it under there. And after doing that, there was a sheep there. So he milked the sheep, got the milk in a bowl, drank some of it. Then he brought it and offered it to Abu Sa'id. Again, Abu Sa'id said, oh, it's real hot. I don't know, it's going to make me hotter. He said, because I was nervous. I didn't want to drink anything from this man's hand. So Ibn Sa'id drank his milk. Then he sat down beside Abu Sa'id. And he said, I was thinking to go and buy a rope and tie it to a tree and hang myself because of what people are saying about me. He said, you the Ansar, you know best the narrations, the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Isn't that so? Abu Sa'id said, and you, Abu Sa'id, you're amongst the most knowledgeable amongst them. Isn't that so? Yes, so. He said, didn't Allah's messenger tell you that a Dajjal was a disbeliever, a kafir, and I'm a believer? And didn't he tell you that a Dajjal would be barren, sterile, not having any children? And I've got kids I left behind in Medina. He said, yeah. I said, didn't he tell you that Dajjal will not be able to enter Medina or Mecca? And I was born in Medina, and we're now going to Mecca? So I said, yeah, that's true. It's true. And he said, I was about to believe in him and just accept this, we were all wrong. But right then he said to me, by Allah, after saying all of this, he then added, by Allah, I know the time and place of the birth of Dajjal. And I know where he is right now. Abu Sa'id just said, may you suffer a great loss in the rest of your days. It's just created another set of confusion. But there are narrations that he died in the Battle of Harra. And the great opinion was that in fact he was not Dajjal. Now there's another narration which was related by Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. It was related to him by one of his companions by the name of Tamim ad-Dari, who was a Christian who had accepted Islam. And he and a group of his companions were sailing in the Indian Ocean, and they got caught up in a storm for a number of days. Eventually they ended up, storm subsided and they were near an island. They took a boat and went to the island. And at the island they came across this individual that was covered in hair. Couldn't tell the front from the back. And they asked, what are you? What are you? And it replied to them, I am al-Jassasa. And they said, well, what is the Jassasa? In Arabic, Jassasa means spy, right? So he said, go to that cave. There's someone there waiting to talk to you. So they got real scared. They said, hey, he's probably some kind of a demon in the cave there, a jinn, evil jinn or something. But they felt they better check it out. So they went in there, and they said they found a man in there, the most powerfully built man they had ever seen. He was thoroughly shackled up, tied up in iron chains. His hands, his neck, his feet, his ankles. And they said to him, who are you? And he said, you will soon come to know. But tell me about the people of Arabia. And tell me about yourselves. And they related to him what happened to them, etc. Then he asked them about the date trees of Baisan. And he asked them about the waters in the Sea of Galilee and in the spring of Zugar. And they related information about them. And he asked them about Mecca and Yathrib, and about the unlettered prophet who would rise amongst them. And after getting all this information, then he said to them, I am the Masih, the Messiah. I will soon be permitted to go forth. So I will set out and travel across the earth within 40 nights and days. I will visit every town in the world except Mecca and Medina, for both of them will be prohibited to me. And Prophet ﷺ related that to his companions, confirming what he had told them concerning Dajjal. Now, what we finally need to look at, and before looking at it, we need to identify at least a couple of narrations which are not authentic concerning Dajjal. There's a famous one found in Sunan at-Tirmidhi, which is in fact not authentic, which says that the parents of Dajjal will wait 30 years without having any children born. Then a boy will be born who is one-eyed and have a long molar tooth and be quite useless when he's first born. His eyes will sleep, but his heart will not. And his parents, his father and mother, both will have beak-like noses, and his mother will be a huge built woman. And they will be from the Jews of Medina, and so on, so on, so forth. But this is not authentic. This is not an authentic narration. Now, in terms of Dajjal, there's also some things I've heard people narrate. They read, that the Dajjal will stand in the ocean and the water will only come up to his knees. This is not authentic. It's nonsense. How do we defend ourselves against the Dajjal? This is the final question or final issue that we need to look at. And the first point that we need to focus on is that of clinging firmly to Islam. Because those who will follow him will be the hypocrites. Those whose faith is weak, who are pretending to be Muslims, who only believe in Allah as a precaution. They only do certain acts of worship out of precaution. In case there is a God, we should do a few prayers and fast a few days, just in case. These are the people who will end up following a Dajjal. So we can protect ourselves from that situation by clinging firmly to Islam, by knowing who is Allah. As the Prophet ﷺ, in describing Dajjal, etc., he said, and what he's going to do, he said in the end of it, in one narration, know, believers, that you will never see Allah in this life. You will never see Allah in this life. So anybody who comes to you and tells them they're Allah, they're God, it's not God. You will not see Allah in this life. In other narrations he said, know that your God is not blind in one eye, defective. No, Allah is perfect. Perfection is His. So people who have distorted concepts of Allah, who think that it's possible to see Allah in this life. They've been told these kind of things. Or they have been caught up in different kinds of worship where they're worshipping others besides Allah, or as intermediaries between them and Allah. These people will become most susceptible to the tricks of Dajjal. Secondly, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, said, "Man hafidha 'ashara ayatin min awwali surati al-Kahf, usima min ad-Dajjal." Whoever memorizes the first 10 verses from Surah Al-Kahf will be protected from ad-Dajjal. In another narration he said the last 10. Surah Al-Kahf talks about the signs of Allah. So this is one of the means of protection. We should learn these verses. They are a means of protection for us to recite them. If we come in contact with a Dajjal, recite them as reminders to ourselves of the greatness of Allah and that this individual is not Allah. And we should seek refuge in Allah from a Dajjal in our daily prayers, as the Prophet ﷺ instructed, as he taught his companions. This should be in each one of us should not close our prayers without saying, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab jahannam, min adhab al-qabr, wa min fitnat al-mahya wal-mamat, wa min sharri fitnat al-masih al-dajjal. And of course this has been narrated in about 4 or 5 different ways. So, you could choose whichever narration of it you prefer. Fourthly, it is very important for us to inform our children about Dajjal. Our children, we teach them the stories of the prophets. It's very important. Also to know about the prophets. To know about the history of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is very important also. Extremely important to know the life of the Prophet ﷺ. But knowledge about Dajjal is extremely, extremely important. Because without that knowledge, then Muslims will be left in a state of weakness when he appears. So as we teach them the other stories, we should teach them about Dajjal. Seriously, teach it to them. Kids love stories. So they should all... satanic forces, evil forces. And lastly, but not least, if we hear that Dajjal is coming, as Prophet ﷺ said, if you hear of a Dajjal, that he is coming to your land, flee, run, do not stick around. As they say, curiosity killed the cat. And don't think, well, I want to check him out, Prophet ﷺ said, he told us about, I want to see, does he really have that blind eye? His left eye, is it really green? Don't. This is not the time for curiosity. When calamities strike, a lot of people foolishly will go and want to check out these calamities, dangerous situations. No. This is a very serious trial which most of us will not be able to stand before. There will be some amongst us who will stand firm. Prophet ﷺ described an individual, a young man, who, when Dajjal comes in his area, he will go and seek him out. And when he comes before Dajjal, he will tell him, you are the one that the Messenger of Allah warned us about, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You are the Dajjal, you are not God. And Dajjal will be angry. He will have people hold him by his hands. And they will bring a saw, put it to his middle of his head, and they will saw him in half. And after sawing him in half, he will walk between the two halves. And he will tell the halves to come back together. And the young man will come back together. And then he will say to him, now do you believe? He will grab him and try to cut off his head, but he will not.